Hello everyone, I'm Batman, about to ride the horse. In today's video, we're gonna cover how to create that interaction system for an Android phone using a button. This method was used for Fractured Psyche that I've ported for Android, my game, a retro psychological horror game that you guys can actually download with the link in the description. This video was suggested by our friend with this ID. Hope all the very best for you wherever you are. This video will be put inside a series of videos covering Unity tips and tricks that can actually help you in your game dev journey. All the files used and created in this video are available on my GitHub. You can get to it with the link in the description. With all that being said, let's put on the mask and begin. Okay, in our scene we need a button to interact inside Android. This is the way I used in my own game, Fractured Psyche. These are lots of ways to do it. For example, like touching the screen. But this video is actually, interacting with a button. You have a button in here, you click on it and it starts interacting with the object inside when it is, when it can be interacted with. We have an FPS controller that we don't need in this video because we're not gonna walk around. We just want to interact with an object. So what we need is a button. Creating a button is actually very easy. You just create a canvas and you add a button to it. You guys know this stuff, of course. And I place it here. I anchored it to the lower right button of the screen. So however I scale it, it will scale according to that direction. You see it is attached to this way. So as I've said in my previous interaction system videos, the object needs to have a collider so we can interact with it. So I gave this chair a collider, and it also needs to have a certain tag so it is a chair that you're interacting with. So you go to this tag section, you add tag, you click on this plus and give it a tag. You have to be careful. The capital and the small versions of the letter matter here a lot, so it has to be exactly the same thing when you call it inside the script. So you click on the save. Since I have a tag with chair, it says it already exists, so you select your object and you give it the tag after you created it. We have to create a script, so I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call it scripts, and inside which I'm going to create a new C# script. I'm going to call it Android interact. Double click to open it up. In this script, like my previous videos on interaction system, we need a boolean to check if we can interact or not. So we're just gonna say public boolean can interact, which is equal to true by default because we can interact at the start of the game. And we don't need void start or update because in this method we're not gonna call it using a button press or anything. So we're gonna remove this void update and start. Instead of this, we're going to create a public void that we're going to attach to our button, and when we press that button, this public void will be called, and this public void is our interaction method. So I'm just going to say public void interact void, and that is an interact void. Then we're gonna start to interact. We check if we can interact or not. Say if can interact is equal to false. If we cannot interact, we go ahead and say return. What this line does, again I say, is if we cannot interact, we return, and we don't go and run the codes down here. It returns and it won't do anything. We shoot array, an invisible thing. So array, I'm gonna call array, which is equal to new array transform.position to transform.forward. Since this object will be attached to our camera, I'm gonna get the camera's position and I'm gonna shoot the raycast in the direction the camera is looking at, and I'm gonna create a raycast hit. I'm gonna call it hit again. So what these two lines are is, first we shoot an invisible thing like a laser, but it is invisible, we cannot see it. It is called a ray, and if this object, this ray, hits anything, that thing that it hits will be put inside this raycast hit. Next, we're gonna check if the ray that we shot, the laser we shot, actually hit anything, for example in a certain distance. So we're just gonna say if physics.raycast, for the ray we're gonna give it the ray, and out we're gonna give it the hit, and for the distance I'm gonna say 5. So this line checks if anything in a distance of 5 was actually hit with this invisible laser that we made. If it actually got hit, we're gonna check if the object we hit has a tag of chair, for example, in our case, the tag we just created. So just gonna say if hit the object we hit dot collider, we're gonna get its collider dot compare tag. So if it actually has a tag of chair, be careful, this chair has to be exactly the same tag as the tag you just created for that object. The capital C, small h, everything has to be the same. And if we actually hit the chair, we can go ahead and say debug.log we hit a chair. Yeah, that is it. That is everything for this interaction system. It is like the interaction systems that we created before. Yeah, that is it. If you hit any object, you're gonna check if you hit any object with a different tag. You're just gonna say if else if hit dot collider dot compare tag. For example, wall or door, for example. I don't have any object with the tag of door in here, but if you do, you're just gonna say, for example, interact with the door. We can just go ahead and check this out because we're done with it. Now I'm gonna select my camera. I'm gonna give the script to my camera. It has to be exactly on your camera because in this line here, we took the object with the scripts transform, which is the camera. So it has to be exactly on the camera. Yeah, we can interact here. You see it's a public boolean. Right now, the chair is in front of us and we are looking at it, and we will press the button. We should interact with the chair. But we have to connect this method that we created, this public void, interact void. It has to be public because we're gonna reference it to a button. So to reference it to a button, we gotta go inside our canvas and get to our button, and we go down inside the inspector tab. You see this on click event. You're gonna click on this plus, and it needs an object. For the object, you're gonna give it the object with the script, which is in our case the camera. So we're just gonna drag and drop our camera here, and I'm gonna go to this no function, right click on it. I'm gonna find the script's name, which is Android Interact, and inside it I'm gonna look for that public void's name that we created, which is the interact void, and I'm gonna select it. Now this function is connected to our button, as easy as that. You can go ahead and check it out. You see now it is activated. When I press this, our debug.log is gonna show a value. You see, it says we hit a chair, and I click on it. It says 4, 5, 6 because we are interacting with a chair. And if I, put the chair out of our way and I press this, you see this number doesn't change because we are not interacting with the chair. But if the chair is back in place and we click on this button, it actually interacts with the chair. And you guys can actually, connect any function you want in here. For example, run a dialogue system or anything. This was how to create the interaction system for it. So that was an easy way to create an interaction system using a button for Android in Unity. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, a like would be amazing. You can subscribe to see more contents like this. You can tell me in the comments anything you want to say, any suggestions, any scenarios, or anything you want in the comment section below. I would be very happy to answer it. Hope all the very best for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.